We are live.
Okay, cool. So what I was saying before this in the first session was we want to be able to assign attributes like headline to a given zone. And since the zone itself does not have attributes, does not have that capability, what we need to do is we need to wrap our contents in a DWC and then place that DWC inside slot 1, for example. So going back to image scroll here, this image scroll is a DWC itself, and if we edit it, we will go to here to the actual image scroll itself. This is a DWC for the image scroll, and I've pinned items here. There's a bunch of stories, and if you look at here in the object panel, you'll see under general there's a headline, and Mace photo is the headline for that. And if I render the page itself, you'll notice that the headline is appearing here, and that's because I have access to the DWC's headline. So here I'm displaying the image scroll DWC's headline and also its content. And without that, you're not able to do that. If I don't have, for example, if I go back to the home page, and if you look at the slot 2 or 1, you'll notice that there's no headline, and that's because there's no way for me to set up a headline for a zone. And that's why we need to wrap it inside a DWC. So if I were to take this story and wrap it inside a DWC and place that DWC in here, then I would be able to give it a headline. And right now we can't do it because of this loading thing, but you can already see it happening with these other slots. And another example is slot 4. So slot 4 has a DWC inside of it, and that DWC has a headline of this headline, not the best. And if I open up the DWC itself, only if I could go to its object. Yeah, there it is. So see, that's the same headline that's showing up on here. So these DWCs are very useful for us to mimic a lot of the same behavior we had in Medley. It's very convenient because you can use a DWC to create lists like we did in Medley. For example, this list here is I dragged items and placed them here, so it's kind of like how we created manual lists back in Medley. I could also drag a query inside here at the bottom of this, and that would be a lot like hybrid lists like we had in Medley, where some of the items are manually added and some of them are automatically generated. And you can also use a DWC to wrap content so that you can give them headlines inside of zones. So there's the DWCs can be used for a lot of things to give a lot of control to your zones. Now there's also one other thing that I added to DWCs, and so a lot of the display classes in Medley, if you go through all these display classes in these slots, you notice that there's a lot of them that are pretty much common between all content types. Like left photo, top photo, and there are some that are very unique. For example, video, active video is very unique. It's only for active video. Third-party tees also is unique. It's only for third-party tees. So these two are very like exceptions when it comes to display classes. So one other thing that you can do with DWCs is you may wonder, if do we need to have all these display classes for because the thing is, a DWC doesn't know in advance what's going to be inside of it, what content type is going to be inside of it. So this is a DWC, for example. And I've set it so that a DWC in slot 4 has access to these 3 display classes: headline, only, left photo, and no photo. So headline only would give us a kind of a list of items with the headlines only. If I were to pick left photo, this would only display the first item on the list with a left photo display class. So it would just pick this one and create a left photo display class, much like this one up here. But what if I put a video inside of this? Let's say I'm not displaying a list. I just want to put a video inside of this DWC and display it with active video. If I did that, then I wouldn't have access to active video here. So one solution would be to place active video for this DWC and place it there for that one time that somebody might want to use an active video. Actually, I should be talking about the lead tees, because that's the only place that an active video is allowed. But we don't have there's no DWC inside here, and we can't do it because of this loading thing here. So just assume for now, for the sake of being able to explain this, describe this example, that this is slot 1. Let's say that we're looking at slot 1 and not slot 4. And we have a list of display classes allowed to us for a DWC, which is this content type here. And we want to put a video inside of it. Yeah, does someone have a question? Susan? Oh, sorry. Okay, I thought Susan had a question. So going back, okay, so let's assume we have a lead tease here. So assume this is slot 1, and we have a DWC, and there are certain display classes allowed for that DWC. But we want to put a video inside of this DWC, and we want to pick active video as display class. So one way would be to add active video to all these DWCs. But like active video is probably very kind of rare, and having that in here for all these are kind of common types of display classes: left photo, no photo. But active video, putting it here would be kind of misleading, because it's only used for videos only for the lead tease. There's very specific circumstances where it would be used. So in order to make it so that the DWC can pass on the responsibility of picking a display class down to the content itself, I created a new display class, and this name could change. I mean, I try to come up with the most intuitive name for it, but what this one does, it uses the first item's display class. So basically, in the code, it doesn't, instead of iterating over the contents of the DWC in the code, what it does is it just includes the zone. It just says, look, take this zone. Actually, it takes the zone itself. So let's say that this is our DWC, and it calls this zone linked items and says just display that item. It doesn't specify anything. It just lets the item itself inside use its own display class to display that item. And I'm just going to show it's very simple in the code. I just need to find it. So I've called it delegate display class, and basically what it does. So all it does, instead of iterating over the content of the DWC, it names the zone inside the DWC, which is called linked items, like I showed just earlier, and it displays it. And you can add a kind of a default template name, but you don't have to. That's for if nobody picks anything, any display class. But so you have a way of delegating the task of showing to the item inside. So if going back to the original example, assuming that this was slot 1 and the lead tease, and assuming that we wanted to display a video and wrap it inside a DWC. Then we would place that video in here. Then we would use first item display class, and then in the when editing that, we would edit the DWC, and then we would pick the active video for inside the DWC for the video itself. So the video would be the content displaying that. Let me see if I can. No, I can't get it. Let me see if I can find a video inside here. No video. Let me just do a search. Okay, so I just pinned this to the pin board, so I'm going to go to my pin board. So here's a video. Let's drag it and add it to the list here. And you can see it was added, and in the list, I have access to the active video lead. So if I save this, for example, then I go back to the home page, and so this home page, this zone would delegate the task of picking a display class down to the video that's inside of this. So let's see if it's saved. So it saved it. I don't know if it updated here. So let me just refresh the page. This is not going to look right because it's in slot 4. I picked top active video for slot 4, so that's not how it's supposed to be. But since we're kind of restricted by this issue with the loading thing, we're assuming that slot 4 is actually slot 1. Okay, so now you can see that that video that I added is inside of here, and we're using the display class that delegates, pretty much lets the item inside decide how to display itself. And keep in mind that it only picks the first item. It doesn't really, it ignores the other items. If I go to the code, you can see that it picks the page zone linked items, max item 1. So if I go back to this DWC, which is it's already open, so I think I forgot which one it was. Oh, it's this one. So you can see that it's looking at the zone name linked items and picks item number 1, only one item. And if I save this, let's hope that it saves it and doesn't cause a lot of issues. And if I display it, it'll display this zone, slot number 4, with that video and active video as the display class. And let me just refresh the page just to see what it looks like. It's gonna look, it's not gonna look good because that's not where top, but you can see that the active video is here, and it's not quite set up yet, but and it's also taking the name of actually no, that's something different. Just ignore that. Yeah, I think that's it. That's all the things that that I wanted to mention. All the stuff with all the tricks with DWCs that we can use in order to mimic behaviors with lists, hybrid lists, manual lists, automatic lists, as well as assigning attributes to slots where you can wrap your content inside a DWC, and also you can pick display classes or templates for the DWC by the DWC itself, or you can pass that on to the item inside and let that item decide how to display it itself. Are there any questions? We kind of agreed to ask questions in the middle, but nobody asked anything. If you want, you can ask now too. Victor?
Yeah, I do have a question. So when you have a hybrid list, how do you deal with the items coming from a query? Like the display class for those items. I couldn't find a way to tell the query what templates to use for the results.
You don't really. Well, the thing is, you let the DWC's display class deal with that. The thing is, for when you're iterating over items in a query in a DWC, let's say we're looking at this one. Um, if there was a query at the bottom, you can't really see the items because it'll just show up as just one query. That's what it'll be. It won't look like you won't see the content of that query like you see with these pinned items.
Yeah, exactly. So how can you tell it how to render each one of the results
So you
accordingly?
you have to iterate over those items. You So here I've created a get list items tag. And this is under custom tags under np page custom tags. And this get list items, this is actually a quote from Brian Walsh. He wrote this for 512 Tech. And so basically what you do is you pass in your zone, and I'm just getting the zone straight up, like I'm not doing anything to the zone, I'm just passing it to this tag, right? And this here, you iterate over the items inside the zone, and you add them to a list, okay? And then you iterate over it again over the items in the list, and per item you just display it any way you want. So you're not letting the item decide how to display itself. You get the DWC to decide how to display the items inside of it. You notice the difference? So here, this item right now has this display class, right? Active video, top photo. This one has its own display class. But if I go back to the DWC inside the home page, which is here, I can pick the display class for it myself. And if I pick a headline-only display class, then the headline-only display class completely ignores the display class of those items individually.
Okay.
And because what it does is, it's not, the thing is, a template or a display class only matters when you use the include to let it display itself. Kind of like how I did the delegate display. So if I take a zone and I say include page zone name, then this will let the item inside of this zone dictate how to display itself, right?
Can you show me really quick a JPT for a DWC for a display class in a DWC? I just want to see what that looks like.
Sure. So here's a headline only DWC display class. So this headline only display class, it actually calls list tease. So let me just go back to the list tease. So a list tease will iterate over the items inside the DWC, and it'll display them according to its own display class. It doesn't care what the items, how the items want to be displayed. It only uses its own list, the list's own display class to use to display it. So this is so it uses the custom tag that I just showed you, this get list item custom tag. So the object here is the DWC. It gets the zone, which is linked items, and unlike the other the delegate, so I'm going to bring this delegate down here so you can see the difference. So this delegate display class, it lets the item inside the page zone display itself, meaning that it cares about how the item displays itself. This other one, this list tease, it doesn't allow the item inside use its own display class. Instead, it overrides those items' display classes by using its own display class. See the difference? So here, we're just using that page zone directly. You see that linked items page zone? But here, we get the page zone. We don't include it in the page. We just get it as an object, and then we iterate over its items. You see that here? So here we get the page zone, we name it zone items, and then we pass it on to this tag that I just showed you, and the tag iterates over the items inside the zone. But here we just say, hey zone, just display yourself, and we'll let you decide how you want to display yourself.
So for any hybrid list that we have, no, okay, so never mind. Let me back it.
So for your question on hybrid lists, you want to do it this way. This is how you want to do it. You want to iterate over the items inside the hybrid list and display them the way you want the list to be displayed. So it doesn't matter what the query wants, how the query wants to display itself. It doesn't matter how the pinned item wants to display itself. You want the list, the DWC, decide how to display those items.
Okay, so we need to define like a template, like a display class for the web type, for the DWC web type. That way it can be selected and override everything.
Yeah, you create a template for the DWC, which is kind of like this guy. You get the item, you get the so current object is the DWC itself. From the DWC, you get the page zone by its name, and that will become your zone. So linked items will be my zone items, and linked items, if you go back to the DWC itself, this is what linked items is. Is pretty much the only zone I have in my DWC, but it gives me access to the items where I can iterate over them. So I'm gonna just copy paste the paths here in the room the chat window. So this is how you probably want to iterate over contents inside your hybrid list. So I just want to emphasize the difference between the way these two display themselves. This one, when you include the page zone directly, it passes on the task of displaying itself to the item inside. And item, that's just singular because I'm picking one. This one, it does not allow that. It gets the zone, it doesn't let it display itself. It gets the zone, iterates over its items, and then displays those items based on how the list wants to display itself, not the items specifically themselves, not the individual items. If you want to display a hybrid list like we did in Medley, this is the way to go.
Okay, Mason, another question. How are you handling the right rail?
I haven't started on that yet. I know there's a right rail for channel, but when we move on to channels, I'm going to work on that. But with 512 Tech, we have a right rail, and I believe that the right rail is a DWC. I don't have a Rob. Do you remember where? Let me see. Let me just go to Explore. Let's see if I can find it. I think I kind of know where it is.
Too far down the right rail discussion. I want to see if we're going to need it for what Victor is doing. So Victor, first of all, which page are you working on right now? Is it the home page or a section page?
It is a section.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, Victor, there's not a right rail necessarily on that section page. Like, everything that a producer can control should be just a zone on the template.
Yeah, that's what I didn't get, and we're not set up that way right now, so I guess everything hasn't been done. So we don't have a DWP for a section or anything. So there wasn't a container that I could have used.
So we need to create a brand new DWP with a new template for section. That's what we need to get them set up with, and then how to set up all the different zones on it.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what we need to do before anything else. Like,
yeah.
Yeah, they like, opened my eyes. Like, we're not doing that at all.
Hey, Victor, I think if you want to create a right rail, I'm assuming that you can do something very similar to slot 4 that I have here.
Hey,
because,
Mason.
Yeah.
Sorry, instead of going down the right rail, since they don't actually need a right rail, can you show him how you set up like this homepage DWP, that template for homepage DWP?
Okay.
Because he needs to create one for, like, we have section, we have a things to do DWP, we have multiple templates. And how we're going to have channel and homepage available on the paid sites, but...
Okay, sure. So if you go to NP paid and go to the templates, so templates contains all the DWC and DWPs, and the template, the homepage DWP file itself, it doesn't have a whole lot. It only has paths to the XML, and the XML is the one that you can see how all the zones are set up. So the page template name is homepage, and so let's look at the XML for the homepage. I'm going to close this one so that you can get rid of that. Oh, what happened? Oh, there it is. Okay, so this is how the homepage is set up. So we got the zone names, and we're setting up the width based on this. Actually, this mimics Medley exactly with how the slots, how much space they take on with their width and the and for example, image scroll is a whole width, but there's a 800 to 400 ratio. And when it comes to slots 5, 6, 7, they're all equal size. And does that help, Victor?
Yeah. So I'm more interested in knowing how to use, like, using portal editor, configure a section to use a DWP correctly, because I don't think we're doing any of that.
Yeah, I can help you with that one, Victor, too.
So once you have the DWP, you use the DWP in Swing, I guess.
Yeah, you use the DWP for each section. So so for example, this is a 16 slots homepage, default 16 slots section. So it's got all the 16 slots plus the image scroll. So if you DWP also has a JPT that maps it there. So this DWP is using this JPT.
So how do you tell this JPT to use the DWP?
It's defined inside your web config. So if I go to my homepage web config, my homepage is a subtype of DWP, right? And this is where you define your sections. And this is where I tell it to use my JPT. So I'm telling it in JSP path to go direct to homepage.jpt. And I'm also telling it where my DWP is set up, the path to the file. And this is also the same place where I restrict content types per zone.
Okay, so right now, so the way I was shown how to create a section was going to portal editor, name the section, and point to a JPT, point to a JPT.
Yeah.
And the JPT.
That's where this homepage JPT is. So if I go to the portal editor for here, for my AJC homepage, I just have to go again. Then, so the my AJC homepage is pointing at that same is pointing at homepage DWP, and you actually don't have to. Wait, you know what? Yeah, I don't think you need to put in the JPT for it. You defined the JPT in the web config, so I don't see anywhere where I need to. The only place you need to add is the frame sets and the DWP. It's because the DWP is where it links everything. So here I have my homepage pointing at the homepage DWP, and the portal editor is also pointing at homepage DWP. So I think that's where things get linked up.
Okay, and then in Swing you can create many instances of this homepage, right?
Yeah. Yeah, because when you go to when you create go to your dashboards in Swing, and when you want to create a new item, you click on this, and I don't know what this is called, but you click. It doesn't. You can create a new web page, and when you pick the correct choices for the team and channel, you go to choose templates, and here you get to choose homepage.
Okay, and to assign a URL to this new created page, is that some of the metadata?
Sorry, can you say that again?
To assign a URL to this created page.
The URL to create a page?
Yeah, how do you tell Swing what's the URL for the new instance?
Yeah, portal config. Do we need to like go into the portal editor and create a section? Is that what you need?
Yeah, you have to. Yeah, the portal editor is you create a section here. You go to your the homepage and right-click and new section, and it gives you a weird error. I'm not sure what that error is.
I don't think that's on purpose.
Oh,
Yeah.
Mason, I can help with that. This with that error, and it's a Tomcat portal config. It's referencing a path that shouldn't be there, and Salvatore said we could just take out that line and restart it. So I didn't know you guys were having that issue too, but I can get that fixed for y'all today.
Okay,
Yeah.
That's good.
And then I had another question. So this is kind of weird how they have it mapped up. So can you click on the link in the chat? And it looks like they already have a section for things to do. Once you're there, I'll kind of go over it. And I'm not sure who exactly set this up, but I wonder if they already have a DWP for the section. So and this is the page that Victor is working on. So if you go back to Portal Editor. Oh, is it this page, Victor, you're looking at, or a different page?
I mean, I don't remember if it was Ryan that set this up or somebody else. So we created a section in Portal Editor, but I don't know where the DWP is in Swing, or if there is even one. And
okay, so this is the page you're working on, though, right?
The things to do?
Yeah, okay. Would that be considered a section page? I think so, right? Yeah. Cool. So if you right-click on that, the things to do one, and this is where I think it's getting the URL from in this case. At least that's where I think it should be. So you right-click on that, you do edit, and we were getting that weird error before Salvatore fixed it, but I documented the fix. So, yeah. Oh, actually the template up there? Got it. Yeah. Right. So that template needs to be modified to a different template, like things to do.
Yeah, it does. That will get confusing because we're just getting ready to change a section template and we don't want to change the things.
Got it. Got it. So you see that new things to do. Oh, so this isn't. So this is my question. Like, how does it know that URL for things to do? Like, how's it resolving that if we don't see it here? Oh, the name. Oh, I know what you're saying.
Sorry. Yeah, the name file right there where it says things type in to do, that is what defines the URL for the site. And once that's defined, it can't be changed.
Got it. So how does it know which code to use?
The template.
The template.
Very top where it says section, that template.
Yeah.
Right now, sections are only option in there, but we would need things to do. We'll have a separate one that's section. We'll have, you know, a neighborhood section template. We'll have multiple templates.
Got it. So
Do we only have one section template? I'm sorry.
Right now you do, it looks like it, but you'll have multiple in here.
Okay. So, Will, don't work on that ticket yet.
Can we get Alan back? Can we get Alan back in this call?
Yeah, he had to leave.
Okay, so basically when I joined the team, I was told that we wanted to have only one template because all of them were the same.
No, well, I mean, there are different. Things to do is definitely different. I mean, it's a lot like the section page. A lot of the components are the same, but it is not the same. It is a section page, but it's definitely a different template.
Right, and I think Alan would originally thought that we might be able to use one, and I know that recently he also came to the agreement that we would probably need a different section for things to do.
Yeah, and it looks like what we have there is the section for things to do, not a generic section page template, just to be clear, right?
Yeah, so we need to rename this one to be things to do section, yes. And then there will be a separate one for just the normal main section. There will be a separate one for special reports, and I think all of those will be separate templates except like homepage. I think that maybe with the homepage one, we're going to try to do it as one template and then just multiple zones that power.
So yeah, basically, Victor, we'll just need multiple templates essentially.
Are we gonna keep a mapping of one-to-one to Medley, or are we gonna have a different naming convention for the zones for the top?
For the zones, I think they're pretty similar to Medley, and there should be a zone document that defines the names of, like in the paid site one, we saw just slot 1, 2, 3, 4, but in this new one, I think we have a document that has the zone names on them.
That's right, and if it's included in the stories, Victor, in the section page stories, and in the things to do section page stories. It's as an attachment. Let me know if you can't find it.
Okay, so just wondering, like, when or who is gonna do some of the work that I think is missing. Like, we only have one template. The plan was to use the same template for all sections. And I think the page size only have one section for everything.
The paid sites will have a template called channel that they'll use, and then they obviously will have their home page template. The free sites are definitely going to have multiple templates though.
Yeah, maybe we could call it standard section or just section.
Yeah, I think.
And if that hasn't been set up yet, it's because we have we actually had a core section page story, which included, you know, the layout where everything is on the page. It was separate from things to do, and that story hasn't been worked.
Yeah.
Just some of the components have been worked. And I actually just assigned a ticket to Will because my understanding was we did have a section template in there that just had placeholders, but we don't. We only have a things to do template. So, Will, I don't know if you're ready to go ahead and set this all up from scratch. So we'll talk after this. I think I can just incorporate the section page design changes that we had into we'll just incorporate it into the section core story instead of having you move anything around because it's not there. Okay, sorry, y'all.
Yeah, you're good. So, Mason, can you go back to Portal Editor, please? Yeah, and go back to Edit on the things to do. Can you show me like how this maps to the code? Like, how does it know which templates to use?
Well, it's these two, right? So it's got the template and it's got the new things to do DWP. So if we go back to the code, go to pages. This is what is it? This is Atlanta, right? So access Atlanta, production web pages, things to do is wait.
Exactly. There's things to do.
New things to do. No, it's called new things to do. This is things to do something something number, but I'm looking for
the fourth one.
Oh, there it is. There it is. So it's mapping to this guy, and so here inside here we have more paths that we can look at. There's the section XML path, and there's the Access Atlanta channel. I think the templates comes from the channel. I think that's where it's defined, I think. So there's section, the available templates are, they depend on the channel. And then if you go to section XML, that shows you how the zones are defined.
Okay, all right, thanks. So, Victor, it looks like we already have a container. It's that one right there for your DWP. You just have to modify that some.
Yeah, so the container may not have the zones that we need, and I'm trying to look for the container in Swing so that I can see what we have.
Yeah. So you'll just need to modify that existing one, rename it, take out the new, and also.
So actually, whose screen is this? This is Mason.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mason, can you do me a favor and find this in Swing, like this DWP, the things to do DWP.
Things to do DWC in Swing.
The DWP in Swing, yes, please.
You go to Explore. I think it's under.
It'll be under Atlanta on this one, and then newspaper, agency, my Access Atlanta. I mean, production pages, web pages, new things to do DWP.
Victor, do you want me to copy its path for you, or
Can you just click edit?
So I think this, if it loads, it should match this, because that's the template that it's using, right? There are two zones: top story and main, right?
Yeah, that's what needs to be edited.
So yeah, just trying to see. So we need a new template for things to do. We need to update. We need a DWP for things to do, and an XML for things to do.
It didn't load. That error, I don't know what that error is. You may want to get Salvatore to look at it or something, or maybe Ryan. Yeah, it's not. It didn't load at all. So I don't know what the error was. Yeah, it's not very helpful. I don't know what that means. Multiple section. Have you been seeing that error, Victor?
No, this is the first time that I see it. I didn't even know that DWP existed. So.
Oh, okay. Let's see if the homepage shows.
Do you guys think it's fair to say that for each section that you make in Swing, it has to map to a DWP?
Yes, based on what I've been hearing.
Yeah, every section will have its own separate DWP. They may use the same template, so multiple DWPs could use a section template. There could be multiple things to do templates, but everything that is a section should have a should be a DWP.
Yeah.
Are DWCs always within zones? I'm sorry, I'm asking such basic questions. Are DWCs always placed within a zone?
Not necessarily. They could be referenced somewhere else, but in general, yes, they will be used inside of a zone.
And multiple DWCs can be put in one zone? Or is it usually one-to-one?
I would say it's more of a one-to-one, though you can use the same DWC in different zones. Like on different pages, you could use the same DWC or that same list. Could be on your sports section and on your business section.
Gotcha. So the DWC is kind of like its own object.
Yep, it's its own container.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
You can, if you allow your zone to have multiple items, you can drag 2 DWCs into the same zone.
I think if your zone allows for more than one item.
Yeah.
Like these items are only looking for one, and so I think it would only accept one DWC, though, right?
Yeah. But like here, if I allowed this to be 2 items, then we could drag 2 DWCs inside of it.
Right.
I don't know if this is a practical use case, but I've seen in Portal where you can create a section, but you don't necessarily have to specify a DWC. You can actually leave that blank, maybe. But I'm pulling it up right now to see what the options are.
Wait, you mean DWP, right? Or do you really?
Yeah, DWP. Sorry.
Oh.
Yeah, click on that change template right there, Mason, while your cursor's on top of it. Oh.
Lately, this is taking very long to save.
Yeah, I think it's this whole loading in the database, or everything being stuck. So this right here, right now in the paid sites, we only have the homepage DWP. We haven't done the channel one yet, which is next on our list. So we'll have multiple templates, and this is a way that I expect that producers would be able to change a template into, they create a DWP and then they come in and say, oh, I want to change it and I want it to be a neighborhood section or a special report or just a regular, a section or the home page. That's a way they can do that as well, and that should map back to that template, the very first line in the portal editor, to the template field, and that defines the template that's used for this with this DWP. But you can create maybe this is what you were saying, Rob, you can create DWPs separate of sections that have been created in portal editor. It gives you a different funky URL for it, but I think that's, I don't know that will be, our normal case, but.
And I've seen cases where you go into portal editor and create a section without specifying a DWP.
Yeah, and you can select it in here as well, so that's,
That's good to know.
I know we're going to get kicked out of Dev here in a little bit, but so I don't know if we want to wrap up soon or.
Yeah, are there any other questions?
Rob, it sounds like it might be helpful to either put Mason or Ryan or somebody in with a Victor or somebody that's starting to work on these sections to get some knowledge transfer, because it sounds like Victor, to be fair, just didn't have a lot of this knowledge that we've experienced from 512, and some of this would be really helpful to get that transferred to him. That's something we could do before. It'd be a perfect time would be during the war room, but I think we need to handle it before then. So maybe, Victor, does that sound good to you?
Yeah, I definitely want to do that. The funny thing is that I was working with Ryan most of the time, and the things that I did was a decision between the two of us. Me knowing nothing about the system and Ryan's advice.
Yeah, and I think at this point, Mason's knowledge is a little more contemporary with the design
Yep.
needs that we need today. Since
Yes.
we've discussed this with Sarah and a few of their business analysts, so Mason, if you don't mind, like kind of pairing with Victor as he works through this for consultation and to kind of help guide him, that would be great.
Yeah.
I think Alan worked on the page originally, the things to do section page template, I think. So I don't know if y'all want to include him.
Yeah, definitely we can include him. I know he's done most of the template work for that, but when I'm referring to like a lot of the method architecture and the DWCs for it too. So they kind of go hand in hand, but having him involved would be great too. Whoever's working on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right, good guys. We are still being recorded. We got all this good information, so people can go back and watch it later. Some people already said they're going to go back and watch this later. This would be very good for anybody starting out or people just like wanting to learn more. Either way, we can kind of use this to standardize the architecture and use these practices wherever we want to. So thanks for doing this, Mason. I just gave you like a 10 minutes notice and you were able to really rock this, so thank you.
Yeah, no worries. And yeah, Victor, if you have questions, just reach out to me.
Thank you, Mason.
All right. Broadcast is stopping. Meeting is over. Thanks, everyone.